Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a hand in a peace sign symbol. So that's that one right there. So grab your pencils and let's get drawing. The first thing you need to do is just establish the two fingers that are going to be drawn, and that's something similar to this. And the middle finger as well. Okay, so kind of keep those two. And then the ring finger does appear, but you only see the top part of it over here. And the pinky finger is much more hidden and you just see a little bit over there. We'll fix this up, but let's just get the outline drawn here, okay? Your wrist is gonna be down here. And on this side, the thumb is really tucked, right? So you're gonna get that thumb very much hidden. So keep that in mind. We're definitely gonna clean this up, but you wanna start with your outline. Interesting facts about hands and related fingerprints. You have a unique fingerprint, so only one fingerprint in the world. No one else has that fingerprint. Kind of cool when you think about that. All right, so as we continue to draw, what we want to do is just maybe keep in mind that these two fingers shouldn't really be parallel. They should kind of move away from each other. So if you notice that your finger is a little too parallel, you might want to just move it over just the slightest bit. Now they don't really go into too much of a V, just a slight bit. So there's nothing wrong with maybe changing that up just a tiny bit. The space, however, in between the two fingers is definitely going to try to create a V down here. So keep that in mind as well, okay? All right, great. The nail is going to appear. Nail is going to appear over here. And we are going to continue to add our joints. Typically the joint over here is a little larger. Than the joint above. All right. Drawing hands and drawing fingers can be really, really tough. It's one of the trickiest things to draw. We get the most requests for hands and people always asking us to draw hands in different shapes. So I know that we always see a lot of requests when it comes to that. I can only imagine that there's a lot of people just trying to figure out how to draw different hand positions. Maybe because there's so many different hand positions out there as well, that just so many different ways to draw the hand. And that could be the reason for that as well. Let's move over to the fingernails. I did draw the outline, but I definitely want to fix this up for you. They say that fingernails actually tell you about the health of your body. They can indicate problems, they can indicate deficiencies in minerals and vitamins. So nails is really something that one should really keep in mind in terms of staying healthy. Let's see if we can just clean up this nail over here. And over here, we're gonna just fix that nail up as well. Whenever I draw nails, I typically put some lines on there. Nails typically have these kind of lines that have been grown out, so there's nothing wrong with kind of putting that on there as well. We'll do some more shading in a bit. Just wanted to get that out of the way. All right. So we're kind of starting to draw the peace sign, the hand in the peace sign. I'm not really happy with the thickness of this over here, so I want to just thin that out just a bit. And same over here, I want to just kind of bring that in just a touch. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. My trick is around the joint. Just draw a little bit of an indentation on the side. It really shows a little more realistic in terms of, you know, that we do have some skin folds as the joints occur, right? So that's what I try to do as well, at least. Let's just fix this up over here. It's looking a little bit off. Great. And I think we're just going to move this up a little bit. I think it's just sitting a little too far down, right? This is the middle finger after all. It's going to be longer than the index finger, okay? The ring finger is hidden, as we said, but we just see the tiniest little bit of it over here. It just sits in the slightest little spot right over there. And what we do is we kind of actually want to keep that just down just a touch. And the pinky really gets kind of put away down over here. And then this comes around. So that actually looks a lot better. I mean, it depends on the angle you're looking at as well. Every angle is going to look a little different in terms of how you look at yourself putting the peace sign out there, right? All right, so we're going to keep at this. They have that little kind of white piece there. I forgot what that's called, maybe whatever it's called. They say that the color of the nail in those little spots actually indicate the quality of oxygen level in the bloodstream. So it's almost kind of interesting to think about that as well. So much that can be, you know, seen in the hand. Quite interesting when you think about it. We're going to thicken up the wrist over here. I think it's just looking a little too thin based on the size of this hand. They say that 6% of men are left-handed. So I don't know if you're left-handed or right-handed. I'm right-handed, but they say 6% of men are left-handed, and roughly 10% of women are left-handed. So really interesting to think about that as well. Really interesting. Let's just add a little more boldness to some of these joints that we kind of drew over here. I think it'll help make this look just a little bit more realistic as well. And let's just fix that up over there, okay? So over here, we're gonna have a bit of a joint occur. So in order to do the joint, just kind of draw this in and extend it down. That's way too much, so we're actually just gonna fix that over there. And we'll add in some shading to that little joint as well, okay? We might even have a couple more joints because the hand is kind of going like that, right? All right, so what we'll do is we'll change pencil types. We'll move over to a 7B and follow up with some shading, just some light shading around the sides. Your typical shading process is going to be darker on the sides. So if you're wondering, like, how do I shade this? How do I make this look as real as possible? Just some light shading around the sides will be the best way and the easiest way to create some realistic shapes and shading on your hand and arm down here. So don't be afraid to do that, and do that on each side of the hand, okay? I'm gonna do the same on the middle finger. going to use our smudge technique to kind of pull this together. You really want that shading that you just put on to really, you know, look as realistic as possible. I think this is a little wide. We're just going to bring that down just a touch, okay? All right. Whenever you smudge, the biggest challenge is that things kind of get moved around, and it can be a little frustrating, so don't be afraid to go back and just kind of clean up some of the lines that you just had on there, okay? There's a lot of shading around this edge because you have this kind of finger joint that exists over here, so you definitely want to have enough shading right over here, kind of make that look as realistic as possible, okay? The other thing that I do like to say is that adding some shading just over here and over here can really give some realistic visuals to the knuckle joint. But make sure you smudge it out. Make sure you make it look as realistic as possible over there. We may also have a knuckle joint right over here, and that is the result of that piece over there. And the knuckle over here is actually going to be more at the top, so we're really not going to have too much of a knuckle drawn over there. So let's smudge this out as well. Knuckles, whenever you're drawing them, it's really just a matter of shadows and shading around there. You can see how that comes together. It's really hard to see it at the beginning. You might think, wow, this doesn't look that great, but try to create these kind of elevated knuckles that kind of will help you put that together, okay? This is a quick sketch, so by all means I could spend another hour here doing this. I'm just trying to show you the basics of how to put this all together in a tutorial-like lesson, maybe give you some tips and hints, and of course some interesting facts. That's kind of our thing over here. So that's what we're trying to do. Hopefully you enjoy that. Let us know in the comments below. Every hand is different. This is by no means a perfect hand, and certainly just one out of many different types of hands that can exist. So I kind of drew this based on my own hand, actually. The last thing you want to do is maybe just add in some just some shading around the kind of the base of the hand. Just keep working on your smudging technique to really let that lead kind of bleed around the drawing. It'll really help give you that as realistic of a sketch as possible. Now, following the knuckle, you typically have these kind of cartilage pieces that kind of run this way. And my best way to suggest that you draw those is kind of like this. Start heavier towards the knuckle and lighter as you go away. Okay? And what you're going to do is just add some shadows and shading beside it. Heavier towards the top and lighter towards the bottom. I know it might look weird at the beginning, so notice too that I kind of took the shadowing from the outside and brought it on the inside as well. It will help you make that look as realistic as possible too. So the last step is really just to keep filling in your shading. Just make sure this looks as realistic as possible. What a lot of people do is sometimes they don't shade or fill enough, and you have too much kind of white on the page, and you don't have enough darkness, and it really doesn't bode very well for that 3D effect. So make sure you get enough of that dark shading that exists on there. And I think moving to an 8B will also help. Just some last minute shading over here. Okay. I like using the 8 on the sides. It's just a good way to kind of fill up some of the last shading that's done before you finish the drawing. The 8B on the sides really gives it that 3D effect that I mentioned earlier. And doing so, as you can see, just kind of brings it together. A couple over here, a couple over here. This looks like it's protruding, so I'm going to clean that. There we go. Let us know in the comments how you did. Did you pull this off? Did you not? Did you have some challenges? Maybe you're an expert at hands, and maybe this is just something that you're watching to continue expanding your knowledge on hand drawing. So either way, this is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to know how to draw a hand in a peace sign position, this is it. Thank you again so much for watching, and have a great day.